We covered two really awesome points in this episode. One, the financial aid available to small business owners during the pandemic, and two, audio and why it's so vital. In fact,
hello and welcome again to Small Business Connections. My name is Bruce Harrett. I help small business owners find new sources of revenue and new clients. With me, my compadre, they like to say, is Peter Kelly. There he is. What a
hey
nice
everybody.
smile he has. Peter Kelly is, what do you want? Tell him what you do.
I am a very talented and modest video producer. So I help businesses connect with their potential clients with engaging videos. Tends to be on social media, but also on their websites.
Right. He also runs a group called Authentic Networkers, which he'll be telling you a bit about that later, probably in a super or something, superimposed thing. But right now, I want to get to our guests. We have today Dave Boire. He has a company called DB Audio, and he's going to tell you a bit about his business, as we do here on Small Business Connections, and how he keeps his business thriving. So Dave, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Tell me a bit about your business. It's DB Audio. I guess that stands for Dave Boire, does it?
That's correct. I'm Dave, and I've been running a recording studio since 1997 in the East End of Toronto. And one of the main focuses is voice recording. But really, the people I work with are communications professionals, advertising agencies, e-learning developers, lots of video producers. And for many, many years, I worked with Medieval Times. So I was producing audio for theater, dinner, and theater.
Wow, that's quite a spectrum. What's the commonality in all that? It's the voice that you
Right.
you
Right.
harness the power of
As
voice?
you can see right there, that's a fine German microphone, and 90% of the studio time that I sell is voice recordings in front of a microphone. The big change, I guess, over the last bunch of months is that people are not coming to my studio to do voice recordings. So a big part of my pivot has been during Corona has been to reach out and establish a network of voice people who are working from home, professionals who have spent the time to buy microphones like this one to sound the best they can from their home setups.
Oh, you sound great. Is that called a shotgun mic? Is that
This one is a shotgun, that's correct.
all right? And what is the brand name for those techophiles at home? The one who love
Techophiles?
audiophiles.
You know what? For people at home, here's some advice. And if you're doing video casts, or if you want to record voices, or if you're a motivational speaker, check out the internet. It's called YouTube, and type in best home audio, best home video. There's an amazing amount of really generous people who spend time authoring these videos.
Right.
So which microphone you get has really to do with your budget and your technical challenge, like how technical you want to get.
Just you're saying you don't want to recommend a particular manufacturer because there's such a variety. So fair enough. Tell our audience a little bit about the art of. I mean, you don't just rent studio time. You're one of the top voice producers and directors. So there's a lot that goes into choosing the voice, and then I would say, I guess the average person would say you direct the actor to do the right voice for what you need. Tell us a bit about your experience as a director.
What I would say is I'm not a professional director. I'm more a professional listener. So most of the people I work with are professionals and know their craft in the case of a voice actor, or in the case of a writer, or in the case of a creative director. For me to step in and say, well, what I think you should do is this or that. More to the point, my job is to help people craft, to help them enhance what they've created for their visuals, for their communications. So as far as voice directing, I mean, just back to my core strength, which is to listen. And I'm listening to voice recordings, and I'm listening to my clients, and also listening to the feedback. So when people say to me, this sounded great on the radio, or this video's really sounding great compared to all the other videos. So it's a feedback loop, and it really isn't something I bring solo to any production. It's always a collaboration.
I heard a film director say that 90% of his success with actors is casting. So tell me about your casting process. You have to really listen to choose, help the client choose the right voice, I imagine. Right?
For sure, casting is huge, in particularly in voice, but obviously in film and corporate videos. But the catchword or the key word there is an emotional response. So if we send out a request for someone to read 30 to 40-year-old male voice for a corporate communication, we get back auditions, self-tapes as they're called, and we present them to the producer or the client. And really what gets people the job is that emotional connection. Can you believe what they're saying? And I don't make those decisions. I shortlist, but really the emotional connection to the human voice is what everyone's trying to capture in their communications, certainly in their advertising, in any kind of corporate communications. So it's a gut feel a lot of the time.
Right.
And that goes the same for a performance when you've got a great take. Why is that a great take? Because it fit into 30 seconds, or because they brought something there and they made an emotional connection. You know it right away. But that takes years of experience, and it also, as I said, takes working with gifted and experienced professionals.
Okay.
I think it's worth noting that what you do, as somebody who makes video for a living, audio, I've always said, is more important because people will put up with bad video for longer than they put up with bad audio. And I don't think the average person is even aware of how much it affects what they're watching, what they're listening to. Is so when you do your job right, it unfortunately goes under most people's radar, but it makes a world of difference in the final product.
Oh, there you go. So, Dave, I would just say that if somebody wanted to become a voice producer, voice director, they have to have a really good ear, an ability to hear the emotion, an ability to, you said you create a short list, so you're having to do some of the initial casting and narrowing it down. But I've also seen you work in the studio before, and you're really good with the talent, keeping them relaxed and all that. And I think that's an art. How long have you been doing that, working with talent?
I started out in 1990 so as a technician at a jingle studio. So we were listening to singing, but this studio is 1997, so we're on to 24 years right now.
Hey, okay, you've heard a few voices.
I have.
Okay, so wait, Dave, I want to ask you an important question for our viewers, which is, do you have any tips to help people make sure that their business is successful?
Take a look at your finances. I right away went to the government for whatever they had to offer, and I'm happy with the support that I've got for my there's a no interest loan, wage subsidy, and now looking towards rent subsidies with my landlord. So that's a no-brainer. That should be a no-brainer. But I also reached out to some of my vendors. So I've been in touch with my insurance agency. First of all, I say, hey, is there any relief for this? Guess what? Corona is not covered in my policy, but there is a business interruption portion of my my policy that could be reduced. Looking at my cellular plan, looking at my bookkeeper. All of these things are ways to tighten up some of the financial stuff so that I can get back to or stay doing what I do, which is working with my clients and getting them the best possible audio solutions.
Really appreciate that. And so that's a good one to take to heart. Of course, we're recording this in June of 2020. We're still dealing with the coronavirus and the resulting business impacts of that. So thank you so much for being here today, Dave. And I'm going to hand it back to Peter.
I actually really appreciate that what you do, because from a technical point of view, you have a skill set that I see the benefit of. So I fully appreciate that. But two, the fact that you're treating this like a proper business, where so many people want to view it as there's what I want to do for a living, and they forget about there is the business stuff. And it's amazing how many people fight that. So I really appreciate that you kind of dug into the business side of things.
Did you want to mention authentic networking at this point, Peter?
Yeah, really quickly. I run a networking group. So if you are if you run a small business and you want to talk to other small business owners, yes, the goal long-term is to get more business, but short-term, I'm trying to build a community so we can support each other. And I think that's important now. It's more important now than ever. Right. So if you're interested in that, check out the website below. And we have online events at least twice a month, so you can check them out.
And I've been in, they're great.